This is the Walt Disney Studio, located in Burbank and founded by Walt. Today, a soundstage located here is home to one of America's favorite families. Why am I here? I guess I have the old theater organist to thank, because once the public got used to hearing music with pictures, it seems a little empty without it. For those of you who might not be familiar with Home Improvement, it overtook Roseanne as the most popular series of 1994, and it is watched by over 40 million people every Wednesday night on ABC. A lot of those people are just as inept as Tim Taylor, and that would include me, at doing those household improvements. I spoke to David McFazien, who along with Matt Williams and Carmen Finestra created the show.
We came up with the conflict of the show being that men and women shouldn't live together because it just doesn't work. and that was out of our own experiences with our own wives, realizing that men and women seem to talk different languages. And once we hit on that key, this family became very different and very special. The character of Tim was very male, the character of Jill was very female, and they clashed, and it was a lot of fun. And we brought our own personal experiences into the show.
The relationship between Jill and Tim on the show also is that kind of magical thing that writers spend months trying to put down on paper. But it ultimately comes down to the chemistry between the two actors. And they've got it.
I don't know. I don't think you can script chemistry. But yeah, obviously they write great stuff for the two of us to do. But I think we just have to get lucky. And the two people have to like each other. And even liking each other doesn't necessarily make a difference. It's something about their rhythms don't click.
Yeah.
And Tim and I understand each other's comic rhythms, I think.
I think there's no question.
You know, so, and that is just a mystery. And it's something you don't want to examine too closely because you can doing it.
For a person who has worked on dozens of series, I've found that hits don't come easy. I asked everybody that I interviewed why they thought the series was such a success.
You know, I think it's because it's a family, and everybody feels it's a part of the family that everybody misses at this point in time. And it is the music, and it's everything else that goes into the show, because I don't think there is another show on television that's as seamless as this is. From the very opening of the show and the music, which was so carefully thought out to have the same sounds and Tool sounds. Right. People probably don't even realize how much sampling of Tool sounds are in that music, and how much time was spent to make it sound Tool-like.
You know, I have my own opinion about the success of shows in the 90s. First, people will tune back in to watch characters they enjoy spending time with. Also, after the over-glamorized persona for many of the shows of the 80s, people want to see people they can relate to as, let's say, a neighbor. David McFazien talked about Tim's neighbor, Wilson.
When Tim came into the project, we sat down with Tim and started bouncing ideas around. And he was very integral to a lot of the decisions that were made. He had a neighbor that lived next door that had a fence that he never actually could see the neighbor. And he would talk about how funny that idea was. And this neighbor was apparently, I guess, a little manic or something. But Tim always thought that was a very, very funny idea. And so we took that idea and said, well, obviously we wanted to have some mystery to him, but not as much mystery to never see him. So we pulled the fence down and said we didn't see half his face. But one of the themes of the show was that men have to teach men to be men. And in order for that to work, we had Tim teaching his three boys what it is to be a man. But we wanted someone to teach Tim that too, because
most of the ideas come from our fine writers up in a little room, tiny little room. They come up with these ideas and they research them and they bring them down to me, and I say, no good, no, just impossible. Get rid of it. Write me another scene. Write me more scenes.
David McFazien was quick to give credit where credit was due, and he stressed the importance of Tim Allen's contribution, not only as an actor, but as a conceptual partner in the overall creation.
And when Tim was added to the show, which obviously he brought such a strong male point of view, it really heightened the idea that men and women shouldn't live together, because he's so audacious in his male point of view.
one of the things that I liked was the grunt, and in fact, it got me thinking. I went home and I built it into the opening theme.
Oh, he did do that.
Yeah, I did. And so I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit where that grunt came from and what inspired that.
My brothers and I have 6 brothers, and when we had Thanksgiving dinner, as you know, men eventually get very hungry, and it's easier to grunt than to say, pass the turkey. It was just easier. It was just, it's just easier than pass the turkey, although my mother would disagree. But eventually we get into a feeding frenzy, and we just eventually just grunt at each other.
I spoke to one of my close friends on the show who is one of the most gifted talents in a variety of areas, Jim Prater. His most noteworthy contributions are the unique transitional graphics that, along with my music, take us from scene to scene.
This is a prop that was actually used on the show, and it's Mark's solar system, our pieces of his solar system.
Right.
So when I see things like this, I automatically know that depending upon how the piece is finally cut together, that these props will probably become an important part of the scene. And if I can bring them out of one scene and into another, I will direct people's attention directly to where they're going, to where the story is headed.
All right, Mark, here's the styrofoam balls for the planets.
Dad, there's not that many planets.
For the situation comedy, except for the opening and closing themes, the music is generally created in a number of short transitional compositions that move the audience from story point to story point. The first step in this process is the music spotting session. It is at this time that the composer, producer, director, music department head, music editor, and anyone else who might have a say in the musical direction of the episode view the final cut of the picture. In the case of Home Improvement, it is done in an informal setting with the producer and associate producer. It is at this point that the decisions are made as to where and what type of music should be scored. After the spotting session, the music editor will provide me with precise timings as to where each event in the scene occurs. The specific timings let me know where to change the tone of the music through the life of the scene. These timings are inputted into a computer that works on a music program that allows me to lay out the music cue, as it is referred to, in terms of beats and time. From here I begin the task of composing the music and writing it down in musical notation. The process has become such that many composers use a computer program that allows them to input the music directly into the computer without ever going to the score pad. But I still do it the old-fashioned way. From this point, my music is in a very organized but an unreadable form, written on a score pad with various instruments lined up from top to bottom. These parts must be extracted from my score pad and hand-copied for each of the individual players. The final step in the process is the recording session itself. The music is recorded in a well-planned-out session that occurs after the show has been shot and edited to the final version that is seen on the air. Cheryl Milton, director of television music at Disney, speaks about what is involved with setting this up.
In the control booth of the recording studio, you will find all of the high-tech equipment that will record, mix, reverb, and otherwise enhance the musical score. The qualifications of the recording engineer are something like an airline pilot, and they advise Dan as to the best tape, consoles, microphones, and other audio components to best achieve what he is looking for in a particular musical score. The producers and I oversee the recording along with the engineer and make sure that the music is working well with the picture.
Reggie Wilson, the musical contractor at Disney, helps me select the best musicians for whatever project I may be working on. In the case of Home Improvement, I have had such success with a certain inner circle of friends that I rarely stray from the same group. And what a group they are. They're called upon to sight read the music and perform it the first time as though we had been rehearsing it for a week. I give all the credit to these guys. They're the best and make my music sound great. As well as utilizing some exotic instruments, this series has afforded me the opportunity to write some rather unique compositions, to say the least. The end of the second season culminated with a construction crew performing one of my pieces with instruments made out of tools.
Well, making their television debut right here on Tool Time, K&B and the boys and Janine, rock, let's roll.
Pete! That would be me. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
I composed some cha-cha-cha music for the famous dancer Ann Miller to dance with Tim. It ended up with a smashing finish.
Every time that the subject of dancing comes up, Tim just about freaks out. I mean, he's willing to make a fool of himself in any number of ways on this show. But whenever dancing comes up, it's like past the boundary of what he's willing to do.
We're in the Stork Club, 1957. The band begins to play a cha-cha, and we see each other across the room. Our eyes lock. The band begins to play a dance of passion. Oh, the mating ritual begins.
I got a wife, you know.
In 1957, you had no wife. Now, let yourself go, Mr. Taylor. Don't be a prisoner of your body.
Free me, Warden.
Let's show the class those turns. Oh, with lots of speed and lots of flair. Oh, spin me, Mr. Taylor. Really spin me.
Call 911.
Richard Karn, who plays Al on the show, demonstrated a soft shoe he danced to one of my original pieces.
And it went something like this. Da-da, da-da.
Dan is as much an interpreter as he is a composer. I have seen him take the most oblique direction and turn it into musical phrases that totally capture the essence of what the scene needed.
When I was in high school, I had dreams about being a baseball star. Later, after entering Amherst, had aspirations for law or politics. But the way it was with music, once I had gotten the desire, I knew definitively that this was what I wanted to spend my life doing. I've rarely regretted that decision, and since that was the path I chose, I have always tried to do it the best I possibly can. Not only for myself, but for the wide spectrum of talented people I work with. It's their life choice that's up there on the screen as well, and I want it to be as effective as it can be. Home improvement is the best of all working conditions. A successful production I have a great time writing music for, with wonderful people to work with.